Dr. Brown, thank you for taking the time to talk to us. As a supplier of a range of technologies to the automotive and commercial vehicle sector, what can you do to help truck manufacturers, suppliers, and fleet operators meet the rules that are stipulated by this new US rule?
Excellent question. I think a tier one supplier is a technology, and it's really an innovation supplier. And someone like a Delphi that has a comprehensive range of technologies from powertrain to thermal to electronic systems, we can provide innovation to help reduce CO2, to reduce fuel consumption. For example, if you're an engine manufacturer or even an integrator, you tend not to think about the benefits that can be achieved by better integration. If you look inside the cab of a truck, a Class 8 truck, there are a lot of different modules and boxes and controls and indicators, but there's not a lot of effort around integrating those elements. And so from a tier one provider that understands that technology, the integration can lead to weight reduction and improve performance. Case in point, if you look on the light duty side, there's a concept now that's being implemented called the center stack that basically integrates all of the controls, heating, ventilating, air conditioning, the infotainment systems, et cetera, all into one module. Guess what? It reduces size in terms of the packaging, number one. Number two, by integrating, it reduces weight. And number three, the net result is better fuel economy and lower CO2. That's just the starting of it. When I talk about the electrical architecture, think about all of the controllers, the sensors, not just in terms of emissions, but pressure, temperature, et cetera, sensors, that if you did a better job of integration optimization, you could then reduce the number of components that are used. And guess what? You can optimize the architecture. And when I say architecture, I'm really speaking of the electronic as well as the electrical architecture. The one that people tend to think about more readily is the electrical architecture, the power and signal distribution, the wiring harness that connects everything. Think about optimizing that. If you did a good job, you could reduce the length of cable. You could, and you could utilize that architecture really more efficiently, whereby sensors and controllers are sharing information. And guess what? You can reduce the number of elements that are connected to that architecture. Now, on the electronic side, think again of sensors. Think again of the communication system. There too, you can reduce the number of connectors, the wiring, but very importantly, you get better utilization of the software systems on the vehicle. And now with more things coming into the vehicle, I mean that driver, the operator of the vehicle, he or she is just like you and I. They want to be able to bring their BlackBerry, their iPhone right into the vehicle and to do that seamlessly. They don't want to worry about having to bring another cable in. They don't want to worry about having to go through a different protocol. Technology exists today. Delphi has it where you can bring that device in, plug it into a docking station, and have what you have on your BlackBerry, on your iPhone, appear on your navigation screen. And guess what? You can use that as a platform to integrate some of the controls and information in the vehicle. Again, a more integrated solution. That's just the start of it, because there's a lot more in terms of what suppliers can do, whether it's hybridization, whether it's the electrical system, whether it is aerodynamic devices to reduce aerodynamic drag, and so on and so forth. So from a Delphi perspective, we can offer the most in terms of the electronic architecture, in terms of powertrain efficiencies, some vehicle technologies, and so on and so forth. So we need to be part of the equation when our OEM customers think about what they need to do.
But are you early enough in the R&D stages to be part of that equation, or do Would you like to get in earlier?
Well, quite honestly, from a Delphi perspective, we're not waiting on our OEM customers. We're going to them and saying, look, here's what's before us. We know it's a challenge to meet the targets and standards. And we're saying to them, here are the technologies that we have that can aid you today. And here are the technologies that we're working on down the road that's in our innovation pipeline. And we're saying, is any of that items that you would like to see on your platforms? Not just the current technology, but what about things in the pipeline that we're working on? Is there an opportunity where we can work collaboratively to fit your platform? So we're being proactive in terms of engaging our customers to find solutions for the challenges that they have.
And are OEMs prepared to pay for technologies that might be a little bit more expensive but save them costs in the long run, or do you still find that cost is an inhibitor for some of the technologies that you can offer?
Excellent question. The key is the value proposition. And value proposition is a trade-off between cost, feature, function, performance, and we need to look at that from the perspective of the end user. Not just from the engine manufacturer or the vehicle integrator, but in terms of the operator of the vehicle. Are they going to get value out of that technology? Because these are business operators. And to the extent that a technology reduces their cost of operation, i.e. less fuel consumption, they're going to be interested in that technology. Now, certainly we have the traditional hurdle rates of having a payback in the time frame of 2 to 3 years. That won't go away. For the more sophisticated technologies like hybridization, that's where we need the partnership with government, because there's going to be a need for incentives and subsidies to encourage transportation authorities to want to put these technologies onto buses and other vehicles. So it's going to need a collaboration, and we need time to fully develop the technologies longer term to demonstrate the value.
We began by speaking about the US rule for medium and heavy duty trucks.
Yes.
How are the technologies that you're able to offer to meet those targets also usable in other markets, in other regions of the world where similar but perhaps also different targets are being set?
Well, I think the common denominator is that for the first time, all regions are looking at fuel consumption reduction, CO2 targets for commercial vehicles, medium heavy-duty trucks. The nature of the technologies that can be used to serve that objective are going to be the same, whether it is engine efficiency, whether it's hybridization, whatever those technologies are, they're still applicable. The key is the time frame in which you have to meet those standards and those objectives. Certainly, the US is starting. We already know that Europe is working on their set of regulations. In fact, we heard from Margot Oge during the conference here this week that she's already in discussions. We heard that from her that Canada is going to adopt the US regulations. We also know that China is working on their regulations. And the OEMs and the customers that we serve are global organizations. And so they're not just looking at the US. They're trying to anticipate, what must I do in Europe? What must I do in China, India, the growing markets? And I'll come back to that in a moment. But what must I do also in South America? Now, in terms of markets that influence the commercial vehicle industry, the largest growth going forward is not going to be in the triad countries. It's going to be in the BRIC countries, specifically China and India. And so the OEMs are going to have to be prepared to provide solutions for those markets. And so as a tier one provider, as a Delphi organization, we're getting ready. We already have a footprint. We already have engineering capability in those regions. We're already meeting with the government officials in terms of what they're planning to do, what their expectations, what the standards might be. And so as a tier one supplier, as a responsible partner, we have to be out in front of our OEM customers. to first understand the trends, in this case fuel consumption, energy efficiency improvement, but more importantly, to be able to provide the technology and then be able to go to our customers well enough in their product development cycle so that it can be impactful in time, so that when our customers deliver their product, their vehicle, their hybrids solution, that these technologies can be captured, can be incorporated into their designs.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.